Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Be sure to check out Dragon Shield for all of the best accessories to protect your decks. TCG Player for cards at great prices while supporting local game stores. And Patreon, where you get awesome benefits for your direct support. Our Mox Pearl patron PYRO is back for another game. If you want to play with us and be on an episode of Playing with Power, consider signing up to our Mox Pearl tier. This episode was made possible by all of our supporters over on Patreon. Our Patreon offers tons of benefits, including Discord access and live streaming, behind-the-scenes footage, raw gameplay, additional gameplay series, merchandise discounts, and archive footage of old games as well. We have tiers at all budgets, so sign up today. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Ryan piloting Jeleva, Nefalia's Scourge. This is a mid-range list that uses a variety of different lines, such as Consultation or Underworld Breach, to close out the game. His opening hand contains a Preordain, Windfall, Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation, Flooded Strand, Arcane Signet, and a Winds of Rebuke. Next, we have Mike piloting Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, with Gigantha the Wellspring as the companion. This is one of the spiciest CEDH lists around. It is a mid-range list that uses Sisay's ability as a toolbox and a win condition. His opening hand contains a Marsh Flats, Exotic Orchard, Mental Misstep, Deadly Rollick, Jeweled Lotus, Chain of Vapor, and a Mox Diamond. After that, we have Adam piloting Kenrith, the Return King. This is a mid-range and stacks list that's all about playing fair magic. It wins by locking out your opponents and then sending in the beats with Kenrith. His opening hand contains a Neoform, Carpet of Flowers, Windswept Heath, Chalice of the Void, Allosaur's Shepherd, Flooded Strand, and his London Mulligan is a Bayou. Finally, we have our patron PYRO piloting Kaalia of the Vast. This is an aggro deck that looks to turn sideways with Kaalia and cheat massive creatures onto the battlefield to smash your opponents. His opening hand contains a Plains, Arid Mesa, Deflecting Swat, Mana Crypt, Lightning Greaves, Subjugator Angel, and his London Mulligan is a Rhea Dawnbringer. Without further ado, let's begin this patient, pleasant, polished, priceless, powerful, purposeful party. Ryan wins the webcam arm wrestling match and gets to start us off. Ryan draws a card for turn and plays a Morphic Pool. He casts a Preordain. He scries 2 and draws a card. He passes to Mike. Mike draws a card for turn and plays an Exotic Orchard. He casts a Mox Diamond, discarding Marsh Flats. He casts a Jeweled Lotus. He cracks it to cast his commander, Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. He passes. Adam draws a card for turn and plays a Windswept Heath. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Bayou onto the battlefield. He casts an Allosaur's Shepherd and ships the turn to PYRO. PYRO draws a card for turn and plays an Arid Mesa. He casts a Mana Crypt. He casts a Lightning Greaves. He ends his turn. Ryan draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it and pays 1 life. In response, PYRO, hoping to avoid any opposition agents or even Mind Sensors, cracks his own Arid Mesa. He pays 1 life and fetches up a Savai Triome onto the battlefield. Ryan's fetch resolves and he fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He casts an Arcane Signet and passes. Mike draws and casts a Dockside Extortionist. It enters and he creates 3 treasures. He casts a Noble Hierarch. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Sisay. Noble Hierarch's Exalted triggers and Sisay gets +1/+1. Ryan takes the hit and Mike passes to Adam. Adam draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts a Carpet of Flowers. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Allosaur's Shepherd. Ryan takes it, and in his second main phase, Adam adds a green mana through his carpet. He casts Chalice of the Void, where X equals 1. In response, Mike casts Chain of Vapor, targeting his own Dockside. Dockside bounces to his hand, and he stops the chain. Chalice resolves, and Adam passes. During his upkeep, PYRO wins his Mana Crypt flip. He draws and plays a Plains. He casts a Varragoth, Blood Sky Sire. He equips Lightning Greaves to Varragoth. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Varragoth. Ryan takes another hit, and PYRO ends his turn. Ryan draws and plays a Forbidden Orchard. He taps it and gives Adam a Spirit. He casts his commander, Jeleva, Nefalia's Scourge. It enters and each player exiles the top 4 cards of their library, with Jeleva hitting Mental Misstep, Noxious Revival, and a Chord of Calling from the top of their libraries. Ryan passes the turn. Mike draws and recasts Dockside Extortionist. It enters and Mike creates 5 treasures. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Sisay. Exalted triggers and then Ryan takes the hit. Mike ends his turn. Adam draws and adds a green mana through his carpet. He casts a Noble Hierarch of his own. Chalice triggers and resolves, but doesn't counter it because of Allosaur's Shepherd. He moves to combat and attacks PYRO with his Spirit. Hierarch triggers and PYRO takes it. Adam passes. During his upkeep, PYRO wins his Mana Crypt flip. He draws and plays a Mountain. He casts his commander, Kaalia of the Vast. He equips Lightning Greaves to Kaalia. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Kaalia and Varragoth. Kaalia triggers and Pyro puts a Subjugator Angel onto the battlefield tapped and attacking Ryan. The Angel triggers and Pyro's opponents tap all of their creatures. Ryan takes the hit and Pyro passes the turn. Ryan draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. He casts a Gilded Drake. It enters and then Ryan targets Varragoth. In response, Pyro casts Deflecting Swat for its alternate cost, changing the target of Gilded Drake to the Spirit token. Ryan sighs, Swat resolves, and they exchange control. Ryan ends his turn. Mike draws and casts a Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Sisay. Hierarch triggers and Ryan chump blocks with his newly acquired Spirit token. In his second main phase, Mike activates Sisay. He fetches up a Lavinia, Azorius Renegade, onto the battlefield. Mike ships the turn. Adam draws and moves to combat. He attacks Ryan with Gilded Drake. Hierarch triggers and Ryan gets bonked again. In his second main phase, he adds a green mana through his carpet. He casts Yisan the Wanderer Bard. He ends the turn. During his upkeep, Pyro loses his mana crypt flip and takes 3 damage. He draws and plays a Plains. He casts a Linvala, Keeper of Silence. He moves to equip Linvala with Lightning Greaves. In response, Mike casts Deadly Rollick for its alternate cost targeting Linvala. Linvala is exiled and Pyro moves to combat. He attacks Ryan with everything. Kaalia triggers and Pyro puts an Angel of Despair onto the battlefield tapped and attacking Ryan. Angel triggers and destroys Chalice of the Void. Ryan chump blocks Angel of Despair with Jeleva and takes the rest. Pyro passes the turn. At the end of Pyro's turn, Ryan casts Tainted Pact. He exiles until he reveals Thassa's Oracle and puts it into his hand. During Ryan's upkeep, in order to stop him, Pyro casts Silence. Silence resolves, shutting off Ryan this turn. Ryan draws and plays a Snow-Covered Swamp. Ryan passes. Mike draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Dockside, Sisay, and Lavinia, and Adam with Malcolm. Before damage, Mike activates Sisay. He fetches up a Derevi, Imperial Tactician, onto the battlefield. It enters and Mike untaps his Exotic Orchard. Ryan and Adam take the hit and Derevi and Malcolm trigger. Mike creates 2 treasures and untaps Underground Sea, Mox Diamond, and Noble Hierarch. Mike then ships the turn to Adam. Adam draws and adds 2 green through his Carpet of Flowers. He casts a Soul Ring. He activates Yisan the Wanderer Bard for 1 and fetches up a Weathered Wayfarer onto the battlefield. He moves to combat and attacks Mike with Gilded Drake. Hierarch triggers and Mike takes it. In his second main phase, Adam casts Neoform, sacrificing Gilded Drake as an additional cost. In response, Mike activates Sisay. He fetches up a Najeela, the Blade Blossom, onto the battlefield. Neoform resolves and Adam fetches up a Skyclave Apparition onto the battlefield. It enters and exiles Derevi. He casts an Imperial Seal. In response, Mike pays 2 life to cast Mental Misstep, countering Seal. With nothing else, Adam passes to Pyro. During his upkeep, Pyro wins his Mana Crypt flip. He draws and plays a Rogue's Passage. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Varragoth, Adam with the Subjugator Angel, and Mike with Kaalia and Angel of Despair. Kaalia triggers and Pyro puts a Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking Mike. Before blockers, Ryan casts Winds of Rebuke, targeting Varragoth. It bounces to Pyro's hand and each player mills 2. After blocks, Pyro casts a Tainted Strike on Subjugator Angel. It gains +1/+0 and Infect. Mike and Adam take the hit, and Adam dies to Infect in CEDH. Skyclave Apparition triggers and Mike creates a 3/3 illusion. In his second main phase, Pyro equips Gisela with Lightning Greaves. He passes. Ryan draws and casts Thassa's Oracle. It enters, and with a trigger on the stack, Ryan casts Demonic Consultation. In response, Pyro casts Angel's Grace. It obviously resolves, and then Consultation resolves. With his win in shambles, Ryan readjusts his game plan and names Dockside Extortionist. He exiles almost his entire library and puts Dockside into his hand. Ryan then taps Forbidden Orchard and gives Mike a Spirit. He casts a Dockside Extortionist. It enters and he creates 4 treasures. He mutates Lord Drakus onto Dockside. Lord Drakus triggers and he returns Winds of Rebuke from his graveyard to his hand. Ryan ends his turn. Mike draws and activates Sisay. He fetches up a Teferi, Time Raveler, onto the battlefield. He activates Teferi's second ability, bouncing Lightning Greaves to Pyro's hand and drawing a card. He moves to combat and attacks Pyro with Sisay, Malcolm, Najeela, and the Illusion, and Ryan with Lavinia, Dockside, and the Spirit. Najeela triggers and Mike creates a Warrior, tapped and attacking Ryan. Pyro and Ryan take the hit, and Ryan dies. Malcolm triggers twice, and Mike creates 2 treasures. In his second main phase, Mike casts a Phantasmal Image. It enters as a copy of Angel of Despair. It triggers and Mike destroys Gisela. He passes the turn. During his upkeep, Pyro loses his mana crypt flip and takes 3 damage. He goes into the tank trying to figure out how to kill Mike on this turn. Pyro finally realizes how to beat him. Pyro activates Rogue's Passage, targeting Mike's Angel of Despair. Since Angel of Despair is actually an illusion through Phantasmal Image, it triggers and Mike has to sacrifice it. Pyro moves to combat and attacks Mike with everything, killing him and winning the game. It is Patreon shoutout time. I'd like to give a shout out to Nathan Smith, Elijah Miller, J-Rock, Pyro, Dark, Philip Hickey, Brad Tobin, Sanguina Lindsay, Snarps the Cleft, Matt Wingrove, Delph Driz, Dante, Jared Smith, Baby Jeebus, Rakeko, Greg Babe, Zods, Wayan, Spielrahu, Sparks, CZ, and Nick. Thank you all very much.